Great. Welcome, everyone, to the Water and Sewer Commission meeting. It's Monday, May 1st, 2023, at 2 o'clock. First thing on our agenda is to open up the meeting to public participation. I don't believe I see anybody here from the public. And Peter, will you let us know if somebody hops online and wishes to speak up? We'll stop and open up the floor at that point. Second thing on the agenda is the stormwater moment. Bill gave us the memo. Does anybody have any questions? Or Bill, you want to give us a quick review of the stormwater moment?
Just a quick review of article on how to make your home the solution to runoff and stormwater so that it doesn't leave your property. They go into telling the story of how stormwater, the polluted runoff is the nation's greatest threat to our clean water supplies. So it's telling how stormwater running off impervious areas such as driveways, streets, sidewalks, pick up debris such as chemicals, dirt, and other debris and just wash them down into storm drains, which obviously make it to our lakes, rivers, and waterways. They speak to vehicle and garage waste. Use commercial car washes, the car wash if you can, and if you can't, try to do it on impervious locations, not on the driveway, because then it just runs down to the storm drain. So if you have any kind of lawn or other unpaved areas, rock or anything like that, check cars, boats, motorcycles, and other equipment for leaks. Make repairs as soon as possible so they don't drip out and make their way into the storm system. Recycle and use any and as much fluids as possible. Don't dump or spill into or around any of the storm drains. Lawn and gardens. Use pest and fertilizer sparingly. Avoid applying them when it rains. Rain is forecasted so it just doesn't flush out, just so that it gets absorbed. Select the native plants and grasses that are drought resistant, so you don't need to water as much. Cover piles of dirt and mulch so they don't run off. Home improvement. Know where your storm drains are located, protect them, cover them to prevent debris and dirt from entering them. Sweep and dispose of any leftover materials. Use as little as possible of any hazardous materials. Purchase non-toxic, biodegradable, recycled and recyclable materials whenever possible. Whenever you do any of this, clean up after so that you clean any spills or any product that's left laying around. And finally, if you can reduce the amount of paved area and increase the amount of vegetative areas in and around your homes so that the water can percolate through rather than running off. So if anybody has any questions, other than using the magnifying glass to read.
Can, Bill, will you make sure you send this stormwater moment literature to Tim?
Yep.
And let him put it in one of the public
I think we do
notices
that regularly. So
yeah.
We will continue to do that.
Please, just so he can, if it's a slow week, we can go ahead and send it out to the Post-R and the Chronicle, and they decide what to pick up or what not to. That'd be great. Any questions, thoughts for Bill? If not, we're moving on to item number 3. We have a billing issue at 50 Crandall Street. Back over to Bill.
Okay. Everybody's seen the memo that was supplied?
Mm-hmm.
The letter. First, the memo from Mary Beth to all of us, and then on the flip side is the letter that we received from Adele Berman regarding her mother's property at 50 Crandall Street. Her mother's a 90-year-old woman that's suffering from Alzheimer's, unfortunately, and unbeknownst to them, until they received their water and sewer bill, and they realized that they must have had a leaking pipe in the basement. So
Must have been leaky for a while though, right? Isn't $393 kind of a high bill for a single lady? You can't go over it. I mean, what's the minimum bill?
It's 280 is the minimum. 180?
No,
180.
mine's 200 maybe.
200?
But that's-
I think it's, yeah, the-
It depends on your assessment too.
Yeah, but still, it seems high for a single person.
And again, you know, I was about to say that, we don't know how long that was leaking. Could have been through the, when they said in the,
That's what I'm saying, she
in the
probably
letter.
had that leak for a while.
Yeah,
If
from
she
the
get
letter
the leak
saying
fixed,
they,
her bill should go, I
they-
would think it'd go on considerable.
they very rarely go down the basement. They're actually afraid to go down there because of the condition of the stairs.
She said that she, in the time that she's been, since 2006, she's never had a water or sewer bill over $280.
Okay.
And so,
That's right.
but they did with this letter, include a check for 500 of the 2,328 that was due. So what I appreciate about this is A, they're telling you that they've now recognized they've got a leak and they've got it fixed. They take responsibility for at least some of it and sent $500.
The sewage portion of it is extreme, and that, most of that didn't go into our sewer system.
Yeah, most of
Most of it went to the basement probably,
Right.
out, you know,
Yeah.
outside at some point. We've run into that several
Yeah.
times. We think the 500 is more than fair on their part. It's a good faith showing, if nothing else.
Yeah,
Since she's a consistently on-time bill payer, I don't have any problem with accepting the 500. And
We've given bills, sometimes, he says, sometimes you bill is, more than that, and then we forgive them too, so, I don't know, I think they're fair, that's fair, $500.
we should make note that that's a one-time.
is there a motion to accept this $500
I'll make that
as a
motion.
payment for the, this,
Second.
towards this bill, and that, we, reach back out to them, let them know that, it is their responsibility to, make sure they fix the leak though, right?
Okay.
That it wouldn't apply, and it's a one-time.
Yeah, I think they
one
said,
time.
That would
Chris
include that in
Serrano
the
already
letter, that
fixed
it's a
the
one-time.
leak yesterday.
Great,
So I think the leak has been repaired.
In the
If you wanted-
stairs, so they can check the leaks.
yeah.
Yeah, somebody needs to check. And then,
Yeah.
and I think
So with that
That's-
stipulation,
as what he said, you know, one time.
one time, yeah, and I think you should make that in the,
It should be
in
part
the
of the letter.
letter, be part of it,
Yeah,
it's a
it's-
one-time thing, and that, please, you know, somebody down to check every month,
Got
2
relatives
months.
in Lake George, I'm sure they'll check from now on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
I
yeah.
would hope.
With those stipulations, there is a motion, did we have a second? All in favor?
Yes.
Aye, great. Any opposed? Great, thank you. Number 4 are the resolutions. We have approval of the minutes of the April 3rd, 2023
The corrected minutes?
water and corrected minutes. That's great. Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Oh, a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye, great. And then the second one, B, is the approval of the warrant. Is there any questions about the warrant? If not, do we have a motion to approve the warrant?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. C is an approval of the grant application process for electrical upgrade and water and water distribution system. Just to make a note and let you ask if there's any questions about it. Bill was able to discuss this with the grant, with the people who, right, this is the one where, no, that's the design, that's next, I apologize. Approval of the grant application process. Does anybody have any questions about it?
This is just the
Not- To-
This is-
application.
This is the firm we chose to go ahead and represent the city in trying to find and include any kind of grants that that are eligible for any kind of projects that we have forthcoming.
That's the, C, resolution C.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's
Resolution C.
Arcadis was the engineering firm. We interviewed 3 firms. We had a
Yeah.
panel.
Yeah, and this particular, resolution is really just kind of informing the board and the commission that, there's a funding application deadline coming up in June, and there are a number of, projects that we wanna have listed on that funding application. And the funding application requires a bunch of, processes that the city goes through, such as the, secret process. We have to contact the, Office of, Historic Parks and Preservation for, historical, data background checks. The big one is we need to have bond resolutions in place for some of these projects. And the resolutions are just resolutions. It's no commitment that we're gonna spend the money. It's purely to show the funding agencies that we're serious about these projects and we wanna pursue them. So there'll be a number of those coming before or across the mayor's desk in the next month and a half. And we just wanted the commission to know that process was taking place.
Yes.
Now, this is paid for out of ARPA funds?
We put $2 million aside of ARPA money to pay for what we couldn't. And you're seeing this as our application to try to get as much grant money as we can. It's also the same project is on Senator Gillibrand's funding list. We don't know if it'll stay completely on it, but it's on it, and that's good news for us. And so what we're doing is throwing a bunch of spaghetti at the wall, and we have $2 million set aside of ARPA to pick up whatever spaghetti we can't get off the wall. I don't know
So
how
this will
to
come-
say it.
And in order for us to even throw the spaghetti against the wall, we have to
You have to have
We
resolutions.
have to have all these
that-
resolutions in
yeah.
place and preliminary engineering reports, and as Jeremy said, SECA and the Historical Parks and Preservations, they have to be all of these criteria have to be met in order for us to even be eligible for
Right.
funding.
How much is this gonna cost us?
Well, the whole project is about a $6 million project. And
No,
oh.
oh,
to get them
These
to-
will, this will be based on each one of them, one of the ones they have to seek. Is what do we estimate they were gonna be, Jeremy, each funding was about?
I think we could estimate anywhere between $3,000 to $6,000 per application.
Again, that's the application, that's not.
Yeah. And this
But,
is the
yeah.
the next step to the
Yeah.
follow-up. We did the work in the pre-engineering study, right? And we're continuing to walk down this path. So just so you know that now filling out these applications and us using Arcadis to do it
Yeah.
is the next step in this.
Because even for us to secure any funding, without this, we wouldn't be eligible.
You have to
Yeah.
check
Right.
every single box,
Yeah.
otherwise your application is not complete and you won't make the list.
And we're going-
Arcadis is gonna do the engineering?
No, they're just gonna do the grants and.
Just take what we have and put it into grants and make sure they're on all the applications that we need.
It doesn't mean that they won't do some of the engineering down the road, depending on who we choose successfully, depending on the project.
Any luck at all, Senator Gillibrand comes up with $5 million, it'll be a piece of cake and we won't need any of it, but it's not likely that that's the case, right? It's probably this gonna be paid for by a mix of all these things. Certain amount of grant money, certain amount
So
of
it's gotta be done, we
funding.
need to upgrade the electricity.
That's right,
No-
and that's why we're moving forward in this way, so we can apply for everything that we need to, these applications.
So we figured the whole thing's gonna be 6 million?
At this point, we originally thought 3, then again, who did we use? The gentleman did the full engineering, first part of the engineering.
John Goldie,
Yeah.
he scoped them.
And he was the person that we'd all talked about. So the current in today's dollars, it's an estimated between all the engineering and everything, $6 million. Now, we're hoping it isn't that much, but we've
There's
got to
still a lot of
prepare.
supply chain issues.
Yeah.
I know we're Hudson Headwaters, and they just paid an additional $35,000 to try and expedite switchgear because they can't get any switchgear. And it's just hoping that they can expedite it. That doesn't mean they're gonna expedite it.
Yeah,
I
right.
talked to the guys at Ask Electric, and they said, good luck, 'cause you can't get switchgear right now.
Well,
So,
As the mayor said, on Senator Gillibrand's congressional earmarks, we had two projects listed. One was the electrical, and the other one was water distribution. They were both, the most you could ask for is 5 million. So we asked for the maximum. We estimated both projects to be somewhere between the $7.5 million project. Now, those were just estimates, hopefully.
We're also gonna be asking the same from Senator Schumer when his comes up later this season. So just keep asking, right? If there are no other questions, we have a motion to approve the grant application process for the electrical upgrade and the water distribution system.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Yep.
you. D is an approval of Wright Pierce Award for the electrical design. So that's, go ahead.
This is a little different because, as the mayor alluded to, he designated some of the ARPA funding for this, upwards of 2 million, but right now, what we're looking at doing is the design to get that going. So we'll be ahead of the game as far as, what they say is being shovel-ready. So when the money does come available, they'll see that we already have, the design moving, will be ready probably within a year. The design will be approved, and then we'll be ready for construction. And as Ron said, the supply chain, we could probably design and pick the contractor, and then, it's like the spaghetti getting thrown on the wall. We don't really know how far out any kind of equipment is, and we probably won't know until then. And there's a lot of different things, mechanisms that go into the bipartisan infrastructure law, where a lot of this funding is coming from, as far as, American Steel, Buy American this, and you have to use American components, so that spreads it out even further.
Prevailing rate.
The prevailing rate, whether, mechanisms are even available, and how quickly they can be manufactured, so.
And if we didn't move forward and use some of the ARPA money for this full electrical design, then we'd be pushing it off for at least another couple years for us to see if we get the grant money to pay for this portion. So what we did is we earmarked that of ARPA money to be used towards this. That way that we truly be ready for it and more likely to get money and not have to wait just to see, right? So this is all part of the new learning curve of the mayor. So that's why you see this in front of you. And Bill was able to get them. It's about $600,000. This is for.
Yes, this is for.
And it was originally a little higher than that. You went
Yes.
back and got
Yeah,
them to
we went-
lower the price.
We negotiated the fee. We had them take a look at a couple different things, like some preliminary stuff that they were gonna look at. We said, well, let's just do the design. And go from there, we also took out, they had some construction, inspection money in there too, included in that, and we didn't want that included. We just wanted the design, and we can probably go back after that money later.
So we have to find somebody to do the inspection work, or is that something you guys will do?
We will probably use whoever, probably use Wright Pierce's, if they're designing it, we'll probably go ahead and look at using them. We can do some of the daily work, but it's not something we're really comfortable in doing as far as electrical. That's
Yeah.
pretty sophisticated stuff.
give me a call, I'm willing to, help if you need something,
What are they going to do for us? What's the design that they do the whole electric system?
Yes. From the main power building coming in, that's 4180, Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong. We're gonna look at stepping that, right now it comes in as 4180, it hits here and comes into the building as 4180 and goes to one of the blowers, and then splits down from these transformers that are the original transformers, and then it goes to 480 throughout the whole rest of the treatment facility. So we're gonna step it down from there and just bring everything in, it's gonna be 480. And then we're gonna place roughly 10 MCCs somewhere in that vicinity in each one of the buildings that supply all of the equipment.
Those are
We're,
the
we're
two
also,
generators also, right?
we're looking at replacing, 3, I think, transformers, and then we're gonna put one generator in.
Generator,
One large generator. Right now, we have 2 dedicated lines, so if one line goes down, we should be able to get power from the other one. In the past, as everybody knows, both lines have failed in the past. The plant's been in the black for several hours, and the last time we were here was roughly 14 hours. Christian?
Yeah, 14 hours, we had a BOD failure violation.
So we had a violation. So, to prevent that from happening ever again, we decided to go ahead and put a generator in so that if we do lose power, we can just go on generated power. We're also gonna replace a 600 horsepower blower, which was one of the original blowers, which hasn't run in several years, and with another 200 horsepower blower that's gonna be capable of being turned down, so we can just use that one blower for all year if we want. Right now, we have a 200 and a 125. The 125 is capable of meeting our air demands during the winter because of less humidity, but it's not capable of the summer, so we have to use the 200. This new blower will be able to meet both, plus will be much more efficient.
Yeah. It's gonna replace the wiring too, or just?
The wiring, we believe, is in pretty good shape. Some of it will be tested if needed be, but the wire one of the good things that they did when they did build the treatment plant was use very good wire. And that was, one of the things that we did find out when we did, John Goldie did the preliminary design. But we're looking at replacing that building and maybe even building a new building on the property.
So you got 600,000 of design. What's it gonna cost to build it?
That's what that.
The other $5 million.
The 5 million, the 5
of-
million
yeah.
that we're looking at, maybe, we told them it's gonna be somewhere, a budgetary number of 7.5, 7 to 7.5.
Yeah.
And that's hopefully, that we get that $5 million funding, and then we look for funding sources in other areas. Again, with all the money that they're saying is gonna be available, we wanna be able to say that we're shovel ready. We don't wanna get,
Yeah.
we say, well, we're gonna be ready in 2 years, but there may not be any. By that time, who knows how much that money's gonna be.
And as much as that 600,000 seems like way too much for any design of anything, it cost us 12,000 just for the fuse that the last time we went off and blew the fuse, right? Now, it's so old that they're not making any of the parts that we have, so.
We had to pull the thing out and rebuild it. It was more like, the fuse was, like you said, 2012, but the whole project to replace everything and rebuild it was about 25, I believe.
It's crazy.
That was Gus,
Yeah.
high voltage.
Any other questions? Yes. No? So do we have a motion to approve the Wright Pierce Award for electrical design?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. E is an award of the Elm Street streetscaping project. Bill?
I'm gonna let Jeremy take care of this.
Hey, Jerry,
It's
could you
much
just,
more-
this has been going on for a couple of years. Could you just refresh basically what we're doing?
Sure. So, this particular project is actually a combination of the DRI and a sewer separation effort. So, we combine them into one project using one consulting engineer to design the streetscaping, curbs, sidewalks, street lights, street trees, kind of a beautification effort. And then the sewer separation portion is on the same drawings as the DRI stuff, but it's a separate project. There's no DRI funds available for the sewer work. So that work will be paid for sewer funds or municipal bonds, and I'm not quite sure yet. But that's what this is. So on April 13th, I think it was, the city received 3 bids, with the low bid being just over $3 million. And the way that breaks out between the two, what we call shares, you got the DRI share and then the sewer share. It's about 1.8 million is DRI and 1.2 is sewer.
From water and sewer.
So this resolution here is seeking, approval or recommendation from the commission to basically move ahead with the sewer separation portion. And ultimately it'll have to go before the common council.
Is this the whole length of Elm, or what portion of Elm?
So it's from, Pine to Park. And then once it gets to Park, it actually goes up to the hospital and all the way out to Glens Street.
Oh, you go down Park Street again?
Yeah, yep.
It should be fresh fill.
Well, but that's the bulk of the sewer work, and the paving or the streetscaping work kind of will follow after.
Right.
Basically the same limits. There's portions on Exchange Street that are going to be addressed. So it's.
And the reason is it makes perfect sense, right? Before you invest, between all the DRI, you're looking at 28, $30 million worth of work on those buildings. From the old Hot Shots, the old incubator building, the old Sandy's building, the new built apartments that are going in. You want to separate that storm and sewer water now before we do the streetscape work. And the streetscape part of it is what the DRI's part is. And that's why it's, combined in together, but the DRI funding won't pay for the sewer work. And so now's the time to address
absolutely.
the long-term storm and sewer separation. And DRI is, just so you're all aware, that that they passed planning board for both the market center and phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 2, they haven't started work yet because Bonaccio is in the middle of negotiating with Glens Falls National. I think the interest rates have scared them. They're also waiting to hear about their tax credits. It's part of a Three Squares historic district. I'd never heard of it before, but they're waiting. Bonaccio's got to get the information of how much tax credits they'll get from that. And they're also, again, waiting now. The interest rates have started to go down just a little bit, and I'm pushing them as quickly as I can. We need that signed. We need that work to begin. And the market center, it's been approved by the thing, and so that's going to go out to bid. That work will go out to bid later this month, hopefully.
I believe it was mid-June.
Don't tell anybody. I told them late May.
Or maybe
Just-
that's, no, maybe that, maybe.
Cause it's only a few weeks, right? We're working on the bids now.
Yeah, that
So-
might be when the bids are due, actually.
Yeah, the
Might
bid's
was
back
start-
in, right?
yeah.
But either way, I mean, we all know this always takes too long, but we're moving ahead as quickly as we can on these projects. That's it.
I will, how the streetscape project affect the parking on the new parking place? It's like,
There is no new parking place, right? So the streetscape, when you're done, you'll have just as many parking spots as you have. The Bonaccio project has secured most of the parking they need for their place on their own property. There is a need for a few more, which the city has said if they can't find it, then we'll work to lease them space, maybe at 330 Glen or 330 Glen or wherever we can. They could always be put in the Elm Street parking, although nobody wants to walk to their parking, but either one, they're very close. And the market center itself has no parking. OTB never, well, I guess they had a few parking when they were OTB, but there has not been parking in any of that. The incubator building, there hasn't been parking at all. The farmers market people that rent the building out for $1,000 for 4 hours every Saturday has no guaranteed parking. They use parking all over the place. They use and they'll continue to, we'll try to find and help them to limit parking. My suggestion is, when that's all done, is that we close down that portion of Elm and that portion of South every Saturday, so that only people, say, with limited mobility can park right in front of the market center, and everybody else can walk in from a block away. A lot of people won't be happy about that, but I'll leave it up to we'll decide that when it all comes. The number of spaces won't be changed at all from where they are.
I was thinking of the project for new parking, like if you're going to put it on the Elm Street parking place or Elm Street lot, if you put it there, what effect would it have to the streets?
Again, it's a great question. So we didn't get the grant money for the Elm Street lot. We told people that probably I think near the end of last year, that grant was a big federal grant that Glens Falls was competing against many other major municipalities, and we did not get it. So there is no plan right now to move forward with a parking structure there. We are exploring possibly a public-private partnership with the folks at 333 Glen to put a couple more floors up on their parking. But we'll do the best we can. It's funny because there are people screaming that we don't need more parking. Parking's not an issue. Don't charge for parking. Don't do anything with parking. I want to be able to park wherever I want. We know that right now the farmers market, they're concerned about their parking, but if you go over this Saturday to the farmers market and then you walk through the Elm Street lot, you're going to find it 90% empty. And so what it is that the people that are attending the farmers market right now, both the farmers and the people attending, really like to pull right up onto South and Elm and do their shopping. And that may not be possible, but we'll do our best to find it. We've approached lot owners behind both spaces and asked them, and they said we'd be happy to talk to you about. I think most important is make sure that those farmers can get in and out of their places, because they won't be able to pull up and park all day long in the middle of the market center. But they need to be able to get in and load and make sure that they're not competing with other traffic. And they need to be able to get in and get their stuff unloaded in a comfortable space and time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. With that, does anybody have any other questions about the Elm Street escaping project?
I'm sure you vetted this construction company, Carver. I've never heard of them. Where are they from?
They're down in Queens. And they're quite a big firm, or a big construction company. They do a lot of work all around the capital region and beyond. Our engineering consultant has worked with them in the past. Has no concerns with
Great.
their work, so that's how they ended up as the recommended company to get the bid.
If you're happy, we're happy, Jeremy.
We'll soon find out.
Do we have a motion to approve the award of the Elm Street streetscaping project?
I'll move it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Number 5 is discussion, 2022 Annual Water Quality Report attached.
As all the commissioners had a chance to review it and just any questions they have. It's another very successful year from the water treatment plant, so no
Well,
good
the
is news.
negative news, it was
No news is
really
good news. So obviously, as it says, a little over a year ago, we redid all the filters. They were all working well.
That's a year already?
What's that?
That's a year already?
It was a year, well, we started December 2021, so 2020. We just about completed around this time last year with all 5 filters, everything that needed to be done.
Tastes
Matt?
good.
Any more, if no other discussion, I don't think we need a motion for that, right?
No, just discussion. Right.
Water service line inventory update?
Just wanted to make sure all of the commissioners, everybody on the board, we've had several meetings on the water service line inventory that's required by the EPA. David sat in on a few of them. I just wanted to make you guys aware that we're looking at an inventory throughout the whole city, both on the private and public side. So Sheila's been working diligently on our tap cards. So we have about 85% of ours done.
Nice.
On the public side. Private side, we're probably at 45%. We will be sending out a mailing to try and get some of the public to identify what they have, and what you'll get is a flyer, tell you how to identify, give you a little picture, and what you'll do is go down by your water meter and you'll either scrape the pipe to take a look at it, and obviously if you scrape it a little bit, you see the copper, you know it's copper. If you see if it's lead, it'll be flaky. It gives you several examples. And then you can use a magnet if it's galvanized. So this way it tells us what's there. And then we can mark it on the inventory as known. We may get to the point where this is all due by October 16th of 2024, where we won't have everything known, but we'll have, I would say, somewhere in the 90th percentile range, and then we can identify whatever we don't have as unknown. And then we can go back and identify that. But I just want to make sure that we're in the best possible position that we can be for when we have to have that inventory in, number one. Number two, I wanted to make sure all of the commissioners knew about this, so that if somebody comes up to you on the street, say, oh, I didn't know anything about that. Yeah, we've been, can tell them, we've been discussing this for several
In the event
months.
that these people aren't able to accomplish the test, we can provide
Yeah,
assistance.
they can call us and we'll come out. I think a couple of the things that we're most afraid of is people that don't want anybody in their house, number one.
Yeah.
Number two is, people that have, basements that we can't get to the water meter in, or absentee landlords and things of that nature where we can't gain access. So for the next, 15, 16 months, these are the things we'll probably be working on and try to identify that. Whole big spreadsheet from EPA down to the Department of Health. Now there appears to be some lawsuits coming from different agencies that because the things aren't the same. AWWA was looking at, putting an injunction in and things like that. So we don't know where it's shaken out, but we want to just make sure that, I want to make sure, and I think the Water and Sewer Department wants to make sure, and the Water and Sewer Commissioners want to make sure we're in the best possible place that we can be when we need to have something into the EPA. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. So if you see anything, probably do the same with the mayor, for the Common Council, because that's what I don't want anybody to come up to someone on the street and say, and that they're not aware of it.
Yep. Please, let's work with Tim, would you?
Yep.
On
He was-
writing a
He
summary.
was
of
at
it.
he was at the
Great,
meeting,
Fantastic.
and so was Warren County, so. We had several different municipalities. We've met, I think, 4 times now, and we've had upwards of 5 or 6 different municipalities in the room going over all of this and trying to see where people are. And I think Queensbury's probably got a little leg up on us. They had better records than we did as far as private side, and some other things. And they're a newer system. They did their mailing a little earlier than we did, so we'll go ahead and do it now. But there was other municipalities that haven't even started.
And there are some municipalities that are refusing to do it.
Yeah. Just saying, no, this isn't real, it's not gonna happen.
Thank God none of us are saying that.
Well, it's not bad stuff to know. I mean, even if
No,
this all
you're right.
comes to nothing, that our
I
100-plus-year-old system
No.
and sleeping dogs lie mentality, like, we're sort of,
Mhm.
once you get 100 years, you get,
Yeah.
it's
I
good
think
to know
the
this
only
stuff.
well, there's several downsides, but the downside of this is that we don't panic people because they
Right.
hear lead and water and oh my God, they're telling me they're coming in, and it's like, no, we're asking you to test your side of it, and so we need to make sure that we're being real clear and persistent. We keep talking about it because we'll think like we've been talking about this for a while, but I think that people will just pay attention the last possible second and then react. And
Yeah, I mean, the EPA put out the guidelines, 2 years ago, roughly 240 pages of listed guidelines and how to go about it and things like
Yeah, that's great. Is that all? Just 240
Yeah.
pages.
So-
Personnel, new
Well,
wastewater.
One more thing
Go
on the
ahead.
discussion, really quick, just in case anybody gets that. We are in the process, started today, was the hydrant flushing. So if anybody sees anything or gets asked, we're probably the next 10 days we'll be finished up. So, but we'll be doing the hydrant flushing.
Different subject. I ran it, Don Colt's grandson plays baseball, my grandson. And I asked him about, remember there was an issue with where the hiking trail's going on in Prize Island?
Yeah, yeah, the water main.
And when you were saying that, I'm thinking, I had a conversation with Ed Bartholomew when I was with the fire department about a huge main that was going down through there. And he said, yeah, there is. He said it's either 10 or 12 inch that goes down on the Prize Island. And he said there's also a water line that comes off Water Street under the canal and back up into that also. So he says,
Yeah, I think we've designed a solution. I think the engineers designed a solution, so.
I didn't know if that was helpful.
Yeah.
I was surprised he remembered it.
No.
I remembered a little blip about it, but that was it.
I remember my surprise over by the changing place. It looks like there's sewer pipes there, and I'm like, what's this doing here?
Yeah.
That answers that question.
Where?
Right by the bathhouse, right?
Oh.
On Prine's Island, on
Murray Street?
at Murray Street Playground.
Yeah.
No, at Haviland's Cove.
Oh, Haviland's?
Haviland's Cove, right? There's a, it's right behind the building, or maybe it's not the sewer line.
Yeah.
Where the
Look like it.
the picnic shelter?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right behind there.
between the two.
Or whatever it is now. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, new wastewater operator.
Started last Monday. He's come back every day for a week, so.
Look at that. Yeah.
No, he's
Success.
very, very good. He had a little background in wastewater. He's been an operator in another facility for a few years, so we were lucky to get him. We interviewed, I believe, five applied. We interviewed 4, and 1 didn't show up.
Pretty good. Any of them want to become police officers or firefighters, you let me know. Let's see.
Quick discussion on one other
Sure.
subject, if
Yeah,
you got a
absolutely.
minute. I was going up Peggy Ann Road the other day, and I bumped straight into John Strow and Jim Underwood.
Good.
They're out there with marking ribbons in their proposed trail connection.
Yep.
And I said I had a concern with them trying to get through the intersection by the plug mill and where the reservoir meets. He said, we've changed all that. He said, we want to go down just on the west side of the Northway. There are power lines going through there. And he said, we think we could pick that up and go over and miss all of that, with the exception there's on the south side of Peggy Ann Road, as you make the turn going past the reservoir itself.
Right.
The city owns watershed property on that south side of about 2.5, 3 acres. There's a small portion over there. His trail is probably going to go right through the middle of it, which in my mind makes the property worthless. If you ever decide to sell it, it's a totally separate piece from
Maybe
the rest.
they'd like to buy it.
Well,
right?
that was my thought.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we haven't done anything more. I've shared with you. You all know
Yep.
the original plan, and I do believe they had that. What you're talking about, they come off instead of going down to the plug mill and then
turning right-
down.
right just
kind
past
of
the-
turns right before it and
Yep.
hits over to the power lines, and then
Right.
they want to, in that same plan, they'd love to run a trail along those power lines that bring it back to. They want to connect it to the eventually through those neighborhoods, all the way to the Hudson River to
Right.
the trail, the Queensberry Park that they have that leads into our feeder canal park, right? So, I mean, it's all part of his grand scheme. Mike White is preparing a list of. I showed him the diagrams of their current trail. How some places they're pretty close, right? So we'd want to make sure that if that was being done, that what are they doing to mitigate any drain?
Yeah, exactly.
Erosion.
There's one
right?
part there that's real close.
Yep, and so we haven't agreed to do anything other than meet with them and talk with them. We told them that we want to restart the committee, and Bill and I will do it, and also the Queensberry School wants to get involved their kids in a public education. Oh, I did mention this at one of your meetings, that they are okay with passing a law to do inspections of, remember the
Yeah.
Nick Round report where he said that one of the real big concerns in the area is that homes that are there have septic systems, right? The homes that are on the other side of Peggy Ann, that those are some of the true threatening threats
Well,
to our
that's
to the
Lady
area.
Slipper Lane and all that backs right into
Yeah,
it.
John said, well, we have a law written and it's just for the waterfront, and we could easily do it for this area as well to make them
Septic
septic
systems.
inspections. So we thought that was gonna be a big fight, and he was like, no, that makes perfect sense, that they are in your watershed or around your watershed. Why not make them have inspections too? Here's Bernie telling me to go. Isn't that great? Huh? Thank you,
Perfect
Bernie.
timing.
We
Thank you.
have a meeting on the 4th.
So
There's the
that's all good
the
news.
walk-
We haven't moved forward,
8:30.
but when we finally have stuff, we'll come back to you with it.
Superintendent of the school, what's he?
It's all on
what's
those,
this about?
his dreams
Is that
are
the
all
use of the
there.
Sports
right?
use of the thing?
And we're gonna try to get
And
the.
Well,
we're
you-
building, by the way,
Yeah.
we're trying to move forward with the part of this that comes up Coles Woods, right? That trail, that had all gotten funding from Ed Bartholomew. We're moving forward, so we'll have a trail that leads out to almost to the Northway, right? We bought that, the YMCA gave us that property. So we'll be coming to that end, but we just need to make sure that these trails meet our requirements, and that they then monitor the people coming off of that trail with their dogs, right? Those are the concerns that Nick had limited, and again, one of them was the septic systems. John's like, yeah, I got the law, I think it makes perfect sense, which kind of shocked me. So I think that's good news for us. It's not everything, but it's good news, right? And the Queensbury School District wants to involve their kids in a public education about our watershed and those trails.
Good idea.
And we're going on a meeting and walk through them. So it's all because we had identified
at the
that nobody
trail
knows that's our watershed.
I don't
Right,
know
and
where-
people are
I
walking
kept
through
asking.
there, and I mentioned the kids
I don't know
drinking
if it was
to
in the
the
email.
superintendent, and he said, "Yeah, well, why don't we? This is a great thing for our student athletes to run public information sessions and let people know." I had insinuated that I thought that the town of Queensbury residents were much more likely to be in our watershed than many of us, just because I got other watersheds to go in. But no, just
That's what it is,
All right.
Big and road entrance.
The Peggy Ann, okay.
So, with that, I don't believe we have any personnel issues, any that I know of, or don't
Just
know
the
about.
operator start, that was it.
The operator start. I don't believe we need an executive session. You can see on the agenda, the next meeting is May 15th at 2 p.m. And then the next regular water sewer board at June 5th at 2 p.m. If nobody has any questions, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. We are adjourned.